reborn as a useless handyman with a fifth-grade spiritual root of the lowest element, cultivation as slow as a snail. I thought my life was over, but then a stunning senior sister pinned me to the ground and forcibly. Afterward, she drew her sword and tried to kill me to silence me, threatening that I'd only be worthy of knowing who she was once I reached the foundation building stage. Fine, just you wait. Even more absurdly, a broken sapling appeared in my mind, capable of turning waste pills into spiritual energy fruits. From that day on, Foreman Gong's whip and the stinking waste pills from the alchemy room all became stepping stones for my rise. Whoosh, a green afterimage streaked across the sky above Qingyun's sect. I was chopping wood when someone suddenly shoved me from behind, sending me crashing to the ground. Before I could react, a disheveled, flushed, stunning woman pinned me down, using spiritual power to lock my limbs. I was stunned. This woman was way too fierce. She was about to have her way with me in broad daylight. I know I'm handsome, but this was broad daylight. My mouth was sealed, my eyes were covered, and then over an hour later, after the battle ended, that woman regained her aloof demeanor like a noble swan. A sword flew from her side, stopping just an inch from my throat. What happened today? I had no choice. If you breathe a word of this, I'll skin you alive. Wait, what's your name? I quickly asked. You're not worthy of knowing yet. When you step into the foundation establishment stage, you'll understand naturally. With that, she vanished in a flash of green light. I scrambled to my feet to find my clothes had been torn to shreds by her. What a heartless woman, done and gone without even leaving her name. Foundation establishment stage? Fine. One day I'll pin you down too. But cursing aside, I'm just a waste with a fifth-grade inferior spirit root. My cultivation has always been pitifully slow. Now, at 20 years old, I'm still stuck at the first layer of chi refining. Foundation establishment? Dream on. Let's focus on surviving first. Back to chopping wood. I'm a menial disciple of the Qingyun sect, specifically assigned to cut firewood. This job is grueling and thankless. Nobody wants to do it, so they force us. She held me up for over an hour earlier, so there's definitely not enough wood now. Sure enough, come evening, Manager Gong came to collect the firewood. He flared up the moment he saw the amount. Gu Xuanqing, how come there's so little wood today? Manager Gong, I'm not feeling well today. Can I make it up tomorrow? Manager Gong chuckled. It's not impossible to make an exception. You just received your wages for the first half of the year yesterday, 6 low-grade spirit stones. Give them all to me, and I'll take care of this for you. I was stunned. 6 spirit stones were my entire fortune, meant for cultivation. Manager Gong, I need these spirit stones to cultivate. Before I could finish, a whip cracked across my back. Smack! Blood splattered. You waste. Cultivate my ass. Give it or not, you will give it. Another 2 lashes. Looking at his disgusting face, I gritted my teeth and tossed the cloth pouch over. If you'd done this earlier, it would have been fine. They left. I clenched my fists and swore in my heart. One day, I'll make you all pay back. Drip drop. Blood dripped from my back onto the ground. Suddenly, the ground cracked open, and a withered yellow sapling emerged. What is that? I reached out to touch it. Whoosh! The sapling vanished. The next moment, a sharp pain shot through my head it had run into my mind. I tried to summon it out, and it appeared in my hand. No matter how I shook it, it wouldn't leave. Fine, if it's going to live in my head, then let it. Back in my dilapidated thatched hut that night, I applied medicine to myself. There were still 4 waste pills pressed under the head of the bed, which Manager Gong had forced us to buy. 1 spirit stone per pill, but they were all worthless. Real chi gathering pills cost 100 spirit stones each. I didn't dare to take them, but I couldn't bear to throw them away either. I sighed, fell onto the bed, and drifted off to sleep. When I woke up the next day, I found that 1 waste pill was missing. I searched for a long time, but couldn't find it. I had to let it go and continued chopping wood during the day. Manager Gong assigned a new person to work with me, named Wang Feiyu. He had an exceptional earth spirit root, but unfortunately, it was broken, so he could only remain at the chi refining stage for life. Back that evening, I suddenly remembered the little sapling in my head. I sank my consciousness into my mind, and on a crooked branch, there was actually a small white fruit hanging. I summoned the sapling and picked the fruit. The spiritual energy was incredibly rich. I swallowed it in one gulp, and a torrent of spiritual power instantly surged through my limbs and bones. It felt so good that my whole body trembled. After an hour, all my fatigue was swept away, and I felt 100 times more energetic. I suddenly thought, could that missing waste pill have been absorbed by the sapling and turned into this spirit fruit? I quickly took out the remaining 3 waste pills and approached the sapling. Suddenly, a root moved, extending countless tendrils to wrap around the pills and swallow them. As expected, I fed it the other 2 as well. There were 6 roots in total, and they could absorb 6 pills at once. The next morning, 3 white spirit fruits hung on the twisted branch. This sapling is a treasure. Waste pills bought with 1 spirit stone can become 3 spirit fruits. What a huge profit! In the following days, I chopped wood during the day and refined the spirit fruits at night, but my low-grade spiritual root was too poor. When absorbing spiritual energy, it leaked everywhere. Others could retain 10 parts of spiritual energy, but I could only keep 3 or 4. After eating so many spirit fruits, my cultivation only advanced from early to mid-first level of chi refining. The waste pills were almost gone. Not gonna need to get more waste pills. Wang Feiyu said that some menial disciple once angrily threw waste pills at the foot of a mountain, at least 30 or 40 of them. I want to look secretly at night. After searching for 5 days, I finally found over a dozen. Just as I was about to go back, a sound of tearing air suddenly came from the sky. Someone landed over 100 meters away. I quickly crouched behind a big tree, and then another person landed. Junior brother Zhao, I've already contacted the rogue cultivator. 3 days later, we'll ambush the path Tang Liang must take to leave the sect. At that time, you pretend to lose to the rogue cultivator and let Tang Liang be killed. The treasure will be ours. This is tracking powder. Sprinkle it on Tang Liang when we set out, and the rogue cultivator will be able to find him. Here are 1,000 spirit stones. The fee to hire the rogue cultivator, we split half and half. Only after they left did I dare to come out. Tang Liang is an outer disciple of the Pill Peak. He seems like a good person. Should I warn him? I'm just a lowly servant. Would he believe me? Worse, he might kill me to silence me. But thinking about my own trash spiritual root, if I don't take risks, I'll never have a way out. I decided to take a gamble. On the 3rd day, I finished chopping firewood early and went to the Pill Peak to find Tang Liang's alchemy room. A medicine boy stopped me. I said, I've come to ask Senior Brother Tang to refine a pill. After waiting for a long time, I finally got in. Tang Liang looked kind. What pill do you want to refine? I looked around, then shook my head. Senior brother, I didn't come to refine a pill. I came to deliver a warning. I told him everything I overheard about the conspiracy. Tang Liang's face instantly turned cold. How can you prove it? I don't have evidence, but I heard them say that treasure was discovered by you. They followed you. And there's the matter of the tracking powder. Tang Liang's aura fluctuated violently. That bastard. No wonder he insisted on leaving the sect with me. After a long silence, his gaze toward me changed. You've helped me a great deal this time. Are 10 condensing chi pills enough? My breathing quickened, but I quickly calmed down. If I take the pills, he might not feel at ease. Afraid I'll leak the secret, he might just kill me to silence me. Senior Brother Tang, I don't want the pills. I want to stay in the alchemy room. I can even serve you tea and water. From now on, I'll stay if you tell me to stay, and leave if you tell me to leave. I'll follow all your orders. Tang Liang was visibly taken aback. Then he nodded in satisfaction. Not bad. I happen to need an assistant. I breathed a sigh of relief. My life was saved, and I'd successfully stayed in the alchemy room. The next day, before dawn, the alchemy boy Fang Xiaoji called me up. He led me to a small corner. When he opened the door, a foul stench hit me, nearly knocking me out. From today on, you'll sort these waste pills, separate the ones with no smell from the ones that do. After saying that, Fang Xiaoji walked off. I covered my nose and peeked inside. The room was full of waste pills, at least a few hundred. They stank, sure, and were disgusting, but to me, they were a treasure trove. Fang Xiaoji. Oh, Fang Xiaoji, you're such a kind soul. But I couldn't let it show. For the next few days, I soaked in that stinky room every day, sorting the waste pills. I didn't dare take a single one, in case someone was watching. Only after confirming that no one kept track of the number did I start secretly pocketing a few. Half pills, crushed bits, ones with no shape at all. I only picked ones nobody would care about. I hid them in my sleeve, took them back to my room, and stuffed them into the soil under my bed. On the 8th day, I heard that Tang Liang had left the sect. With him was that Zhao Mu. I don't know what happened after. But when Tang Liang came back, His look at me had completely changed. There was more trust in it. Seeing that Tang Liang was treating me well, Feng Xiaoji didn't dare make things difficult for me anymore. He only had me sweep the floor. Finally, I had time to cultivate. At night, I closed the door and dug out the cloth bundle from under the bed. Inside, there were already 50 or 60 waste pills accumulated. I summoned the sapling, picked the 6 white spiritual power fruits from it, fed it 6 more waste pills, and then sat cross-legged. I swallowed 1 spiritual power fruit and began to refine it. A few hours later, all 6 were fully absorbed. My cultivation broke through from the middle of the first layer of the qi refining stage to the late first layer, but I immediately felt a bottleneck. To break through to the second layer, I needed far more spiritual power than before. I fed all the waste pills I had to the sapling. I had accumulated more than 30 spiritual power fruits. I refined them all in one go, and spiritual power surged within my body. Cracks on my spiritual root kept leaking spiritual energy, but I gritted my teeth and persisted. Breakthrough. Boom. Second layer of qi refining stage. I finally broke through. I was panting heavily, drenched in sweat, but I felt ecstatic. In the past, with my trash spiritual root, even if I had spirit stones to cultivate, reaching the second layer would have taken at least 3 to 5 years. Now I had done it in less than a month. Sapling, you are my lifeline. But the waste pills were used up again. There are many waste pills in the alchemy room, but I dare not take too many for fear of being discovered. I need to think of other ways to get waste pills. Just as I was thinking, Feng Xiaoji's shout suddenly came from outside. Senior brother, you're back. After what just happened, Ji Dai was now full of wariness toward the black-robed old man and certainly wasn't willing to fully believe his words. After all, if the old man's demand was only this, why had he pretended to be dead earlier to trick him into coming closer? Little friend, the method of immortal cultivation can only be passed down orally. If I die, you won't get anything. The black-robed old man's voice was clearly anxious when he heard this. Just now he said the method of cultivation was on his body, and now he says it can only be passed down orally. Ji Dai sneered inwardly, guessing that the old man's urgency might mean he couldn't survive tonight. So he directly sat down at a distance, waiting for the other party to die before examining him. The sky had gradually darkened, night had fallen, and the deep cold of November brought a biting chill. At first, the black-robed old man kept speaking, trying to coax him to come closer, but in the end, whether he gave up or died, his voice gradually fell silent. Ji Dai had great patience and didn't dare take risks. He waited in the cold wind, barely feeling sleepy. All around was silent. No one ever came to this road on ordinary days, and you wouldn't see a person in 3 or 5 days, let alone now. When it was almost dawn, he set down the rice and flour he was carrying and carefully approached the black-robed old man. The moon was bright and the stars sparse, and a clear moonlight shone down, providing good visibility. Ji Dai paused after every step, watching cautiously for any reaction from the black-clad old man. Both above and beneath him lay a large pool of blood, already starting to frost. His body was motionless, his eyes wide open. He seemed truly dead. Not letting his guard down, Ji Dai found a stick when he was 2 steps away and used it to drag the man's bag over. This time, the black-clad old man showed no reaction, not even a blink. Only then did Ji Dai breathe a sigh of relief, confirming that the man was indeed dead. He tossed aside the stick and sat down excitedly to examine the bag in his hands. But after fumbling around, he found that the bag wouldn't open no matter what, and even biting it did nothing. Could it be like the copper furnace, requiring a drop of blood to bond with its owner? Ji Dai frowned, deep in thought, then bit his finger and dripped his own blood onto the bag. A faint light shimmered across the surface of the bag, and the blood quickly vanished without a trace. He guessed right. Ji Dai felt a quiet surge of joy as his consciousness established a connection with a space about half a person's size. Could see inside several sets of clothing, a small blue booklet, a black token, a few plants that seemed to be medicinal herbs, and over a dozen white stones. So everything was in this pouch. Could this be an immortal's portable space? Ji Dai was overjoyed. He had heard before that immortals possessed portable spaces, and this pouch was highly likely to be that kind of spatial treasure. He wondered if there were methods of cultivation inside. Suppressing his excitement, Ji-Dai also knew that now was not the time to examine his gains. Taking advantage of the fact that it was not yet dawn, he found a suitable wooden stick and started digging a pit nearby. No matter who you are, since I took your belongings, I won't leave your body exposed in the wilderness. Fortunately, the soil here was not too hard. Ji-Dai muttered to himself. Before long, he was drenched in sweat, and when the cool wind blew, he couldn't help but shiver all over. Fortunately, before dawn, he finally finished digging the pit. He dragged the old man into the pit, covered it with soil, then picked up the rice and flour, and quickly returned to the village. After a night of extreme tension and the strenuous digging, Ji-Dai was mentally and physically exhausted. Once home, he ignored his hunger and collapsed onto the bed to sleep. It wasn't until noon that Ji-Dai woke up groggily. Feeling his stomach rumbling nonstop, Ji-Dai cooked some rice and ate it. Then he tightly closed the door, sat on the bed, and took out that bag, his face full of excitement. He wondered if there was a method of cultivation inside. Ji-Dai's heart pounded as he studied how to take out the items inside. He discovered that as soon as he thought of something, it would automatically appear in his hand. With the previous experience of the furnace, it didn't surprise him too much now, but he was still very excited. With a thought, he quickly took out the white stone, the medicinal herbs, and the remaining booklet from that space. Ji-Dai didn't know what effects the herbs and stone had. After studying them for a while without understanding, he put them away. His attention was drawn to the last booklet. This booklet was very thin, only 3 pages. When he opened it, he saw 6 big characters on the first page. The Supreme Mystery Scripture, Chi Condensation Volume. Ji-Dai muttered, "Fortunately, my mother taught me to read when I was little, so I can recognize what is written on it." He quickly flipped through the booklet, his heart pounding wildly. This was indeed a method of cultivation. It recorded the cultivation method for the first realm, the Chi refining stage. According to the record, by sitting cross-legged in a specific posture and coordinating with particular breathing techniques, one could absorb the spiritual energy of heaven and earth into the body. When the spiritual energy within the body accumulated to a certain extent and transformed into an ocean, achieving the magnificent sight of the Dantian Sea, one could break through to foundation establishment. Ji-Dai had no idea what foundation establishment was. He only knew that once he became an immortal, no one would be able to bully him anymore. All those like Squire Young were nothing but nonsense. He wanted to reclaim the land his parents had left behind. With excitement, Ji-Dai sat cross-legged on the bed and tried to cultivate according to the method recorded in the Tai Chien Sutra, Chi Gathering Chapter. A day passed quietly, and it was already evening. Ji-Dai finally felt a warm current emerge inside his body, settling just above his lower abdomen. It was very faint, like a candle flickering in the wind, on the verge of extinguishing at any moment. Was this spiritual energy? Ji-Dai was thrilled at his cultivation progress. He got out of bed to get some food, then sat back on the bed to continue cultivating. According to the booklet, there were 9 levels in the Chi refining stage. His current spiritual energy was still some distance from the first level of Chi refining. Ji-Dai was not in a hurry. Soon, a night passed. Ji-Dai was surprised to find that he was not the least bit tired. Instead, he was full of energy. The spiritual power in his body had more than doubled compared to the previous night, about as thick as 3 strands of hair. He was one step closer to the first level of Chi refining. Moreover, he discovered that holding the white stone could increase his cultivation speed. He didn't know that the white stone was called a spirit stone, which contained the essence of heaven and earth, thereby enhancing his cultivation speed. But this invigorated Ji-Dai like a shot of adrenaline. For the next few days, he stayed indoors, holding the spirit stone every day and cultivating day and night according to the records in the Tai Chien Jing Chi condensation scroll. By the 4th day, the warm current in his lower abdomen had grown to about the thickness of a finger. While cultivating, Ji-Dai suddenly heard a bang from inside his body, feeling warm and very comfortable all over. His height also grew a bit, and his eyes became more spirited. I should have reached the first layer of Chi refining as recorded in the Tai Chien Jing. This stone is really a good thing. My cultivation speed has almost doubled. Ji-Dai opened his eyes joyfully. Since he had just broken through, he wasn't in a hurry to cultivate. He excitedly looked at the stone in his hand, which had lost its spiritual energy and turned to dust. Unfortunately, after these days of cultivation, 5 pieces of this stone have been consumed, and there are only 11 pieces in total. Once used up, they can't be replenished. Shaking his head, Jedi wasn't too worried about this matter. After all, it's not like he couldn't cultivate without that stone. He took out a medicinal herb from that bag and observed it in his hand. This herb was entirely purple, over a foot tall, with 3 round leaves. These herbs are different from ordinary ones. They should be used by cultivators. I wonder if their grade can be upgraded. Curious, Jedi summoned the bronze furnace and put this purple herb inside. Under the expectant gaze, a burst of emerald green light emanated from the furnace, followed by a faint fragrance that filled the entire room. It smells so good. I wonder if it's edible. Jedi's eyes lit up. He noticed that the medicinal herb he had placed in the bronze furnace had grown an extra leaf, and its aroma was even richer. It gave him a strong urge to eat it. But Jedi suppressed the impulse. He didn't know the effects of these herbs, so he dared not eat them recklessly. Putting the herbs and furnace back, Jedi stopped cultivating and looked at the shoes he had bought for Ping Ping. This little girl hadn't been around for the past couple of days, nor had she come to find him. Jedi shook his head, left the house, and headed toward her home. "You wretched girl, you actually learned to steal. Who taught you?" At that moment, in a courtyard, a middle-aged man stood with a stern face, holding a wooden stick in his hand. In front of him, Li Pingping timidly extended her palm. "No one taught me. I just thought Brother G was too pitiful, so I gave him the things. Dad, go ahead and hit me." Seeing her take the initiative to accept punishment, Li's father didn't know whether to hit her or not, and he felt quite troubled. It was only today that he realized the ginseng he'd stored in his cabinet was missing. After asking around, he found out his own daughter had given it to that G kid. Just then, he spotted Jedi outside the yard. "Scram," Li's father said with a look of utter disdain. He didn't exactly hate the boy, but he wanted no connection with him either. Raising Li Pingping on his own had been hard enough. He didn't need another burden. "Uncle Li, a few days ago, Pingping gave me the ginseng. I sold it, and here are 10 copper coins. I meant to have her give them to you, but since she hasn't come to see me these past 2 days, I brought them myself." Jedi quickly took out 10 copper coins and placed them on the table. "And this is a gift I bought for Pingping." "Thank you, Brother G." Pingping beamed as she took the red embroidered shoes. "Go try them on. I just guessed your foot size when I bought them." Jedi smiled and ruffled her hair. "If they don't fit, I'll take them back and exchange them." "Okay." Li Pingping, clutching the shoes, happily ran inside. She had only been wearing straw sandals. Finally, she could put on cloth shoes. Wait, put down the shoes. Li, he wanted to call his daughter back, but it was too late. As a child, she was innocent and didn't think much of it, but he knew Jidi's situation. Where did he suddenly get so much money? Could it be that the kid did something bad? "Don't worry, Uncle Li, this money is clean. I found some savings my parents left behind." Knowing his concerns, Jidi voiced the prepared reply he had thought of. "I see. Don't waste this money. Take it back, you might need it later." Li Sikit. That wild ginseng couldn't possibly sell for that much, let alone a pair of shoes. "It's fine, I still have more." Jidi waved his hand and took his leave. He naturally knew the little girl's foot size, so he wasn't too worried about the shoes not fitting. In the following days, life returned to its usual calm. Jidi trained and ate as usual, and the 6 spirit stones on him were soon slowly running out. But his cultivation was still slightly short of breaking through to Qi refining layer 2. Until one day, Li Pingping pushed open the door and, pale-faced, threw herself into his arms. "Brother G, Daddy was taken away by bad people." Jedi, seeing her choked up, puzzledly picked her up and comforted her. "Pingping, it's okay. Slowly tell me what happened." Just then, 2 burly men in tight, fitting clothes appeared at the door and sneered coldly. "There's one right here. Come with us. These are the ones who took Daddy away." Li Pingping shrank into his arms. Jedi soothed Pingping and looked up toward the door, naturally sensing their hostile intent. "Who are you?" Without panicking, he calmly studied the 2 men's attire and asked steadily. "Squire Yang has some questions for you. If you don't want to suffer, come quietly." A thug, used to bullying others, frowned unhappily that this peasant dared to question him. "Squire Yang wants to question me? Could it be related to the black-clad old man?" Jedi was taken aback, instinctively connecting this to the old man in black, his heart filled with worry. "Brother G, I'm scared. Li Ping curled up in his arms, worried about her father. It's okay, Ping. Big brother is here. Let's go take a look. Ji Dai comforted her and decided to follow the two to take a look. Besides, these two obviously weren't going to give him a chance to refuse. Have you made up your mind? A burly man urged. Ji Dai said nothing, holding Ping as he followed behind the two. He didn't ask where they were taking him. Even if he did, they probably wouldn't answer. He just followed. Along the way, he noticed the village was eerily silent. Not a single person in sight, as if all the villagers had been taken away. Seeing such a large-scale operation, a flicker of thought passed through Ji Dai's eyes. At this moment, on the open ground outside the village, a crowd was bustling, old and young. Women and men gathered together, their faces filled with confusion and fear. Some of them still had dirt on their clothes, having been forcibly brought here while working in the fields, completely unaware of what was happening. Master Yang, may I ask why you have brought us all here? The village chief of Wonha village, an elderly man in his 60s, stood before a portly, large-eared man with a very humble demeanor. After all, there were burly men around staring menacingly. Village chief, don't worry. I'm not a bad person. I'm just here to investigate some matters. As long as you answer honestly, I'll let you go soon. Yang Yuanwei wore a purple silk robe, looking slightly bloated, but no one dared to laugh at him. He spat out a grape skin and glanced at the village chief before him. Yes. We will tell everything we know without reservation. The village chief put on a flattering smile, knowing that beneath that kind face lurked a viciousness that devoured people without spitting out bones. Just then, two big men led a young man out of the village. Seeing the familiar villagers ahead, Ji Dai's gaze fell on a bloated man at the front of the crowd. This man was Yang Yuanwei, who had seized his family's fields. And the steward from a few days ago was also there, standing behind Yang Yuanwei. Ji Dai hid the coldness in his eyes and looked away from the two. Ping. Li was also here. Seeing the daughter Ji Dai was holding, he breathed a sigh of relief. Uncle Li, Ji Dai greeted, walked over, and set Ping down. The two big men who had just brought Ji Dai over stepped forward respectfully and said to Squire Yang, Squire, all 310 villagers of Wonha village are present. Why did it take so long? Squire Yang glanced at him indifferently. This subordinate deserves death. The big man hurriedly lowered his head. Don't let it happen again. Squire Yang warned him, but didn't pursue it further. Instead, he smiled and looked at the villagers who were still unaware of what was happening. Since everyone is here, I won't keep you in suspense. I'm sure you're all curious about why I called you here. Hearing this, the villagers fell silent, waiting for his next words. Squire Yang said in a loud, clear voice, The reason I called you all here is that a murder case has involved your Wonha village. I need to know now, who left the village 7 days ago? As soon as he said this, the villagers in the clearing burst into commotion. We're innocent, Squire Yang. We know nothing about this. The villagers, including the old village head, all changed expression, never expecting to be linked to a murder case. They all claimed they had never left the village. 7 days ago, that happened to be the day I went to the town to sell the medicinal herbs. Could it be that he already knew the old man in black had died nearby? Ji Dai noticed the date, calmly lowered his head, and showed no sign of abnormality. Li Yiping, standing nearby, clearly noticed this as well and gave him a covert glance. He remembered his daughter had given the mountain ginseng to Ji Dai to take to town and sell, but he wasn't sure if it was 7 days ago. To whoever provides the clue, the squire rewards 10 taels of silver. Seeing no one step forward to admit it, Squire Yang was not surprised and directly offered 10 taels of silver as a reward. For these villagers, this was undoubtedly a huge sum of money. He believed no one could resist such a temptation. Sure enough, a sharp voice soon rang out. I know who it was. That day, I was working in the fields and saw Ji Dai leave the village for several hours without returning. It was a peasant woman who, 7 days ago, while busy in the fields, happened to see Ji Dai leaving the village. Now, under the temptation of 10 taels of silver, she immediately sold out Ji Dai. Ji? Mr. Yang racked his brains, but couldn't recall such a person, but that wasn't important. Who's called Ji Dai? He looked around. Squire, it's that kid. Manager Zhang pointed excitedly at Ji Dai in the crowd. The surrounding villagers, fearing trouble, quickly distanced themselves from him. Even Li Ping was carried away by Li Yi. This feeling of being abandoned by the world made Ji Dai's heart tighten. He didn't resent the farm woman. His face regained calm as he looked at Mr. Yang and said, 7 days ago, I did leave the village, but I only went to town to sell wild ginseng. The person you mentioned was not killed by me. Whether it's you or not, once I take you down, I'll naturally find a way to know. Mr. Yang sneered and gave the order. Go and arrest him. Yes. Manager Zhang stepped forward excitedly, disregarding Ji Dai entirely, reaching out a large hand to grab him. Kid, just give up obediently, and you'll save yourself some physical pain. Get lost. Ji Dai's lips trembled as he thought about how these people had been squeezing him dry all these years, and now, without even asking for an explanation, they wanted to take him down. Suddenly, boundless anger surged within him. In an instant, the spiritual power in his lower abdomen surged through his entire body, and he threw a punch forward. You're still too green for that. Steward Zhang was full of contempt. Having practiced martial arts for years, he didn't think much of a youth who couldn't even get enough to eat. He stopped right where he was, clenched his fist, and punched forward. A cracking sound of bones breaking rang out. Steward Zhang, his face filled with disbelief, was sent flying backward like a dead dog. How is this possible? A deathly silence fell around them. The villagers widened their eyes in disbelief. He actually punched someone that far away. Could this kid be some kind of monster? Was this still the Ji Dai they knew? The woman who had spoken earlier turned pale and lowered her head in fear, afraid of meeting Ji Dai's gaze. Seeing the manager Zhang, who had taken a punch from him, lying half dead in the distance and unable to get up for a long time, Ji Dai was also startled, not expecting his own strength to be so great. You useless fool. Squida Yang's face darkened. Just as he was about to order the others to seize Ji Dai, a voice suddenly came from above. Chi refining layer 1. It was a woman's crisp voice. The villagers below looked up collectively upon hearing it, and then saw a man and a woman descending from the sky. The woman who spoke had her cyan robes still fluttering in the air, and her tall stature was half a head taller than Ji Dai. Under the translucent gauze skirt, her 2 long, straight legs were pressed together, evoking endless imagination. The man, on the other hand, wore a cyan long robe with his long hair casually draped behind him. A small sack hung at his waist, and his brows and eyes were gentle and refined. Standing together, anyone would call them a perfectly matched couple. Immortals! Seeing the two fly down, the terrified villagers all knelt, and the burly men who were about to act also stopped completely. 2 esteemed ones, we have thoroughly investigated. It should be that young man. 7 days ago, he was the only one who left the village. Even the previously arrogant Squire Yang's face now showed a fawning expression, without any sense of shame. Few people knew that in his early years he had joined a cultivation sect. That sect was called the 7 Mysterious Sect. This name was exactly the same as the 7 Mysterious Sect that Zhang Feng had mentioned earlier. However, due to his lack of talent, he could never find the true path of cultivation, so he spent his entire life lingering on the periphery of the sect, managing some of its worldly assets. And these 2 people before him were core members of the sect. With just a flick of their fingers, they could decide his life or death. How is it, Junior Sister Song? The man and woman, referred to as immortals, were already accustomed to such scenes, their gazes calmly appraising Ji Dai ahead. The speaker was the young man named Zhou Su. He turned his head to look at the woman beside him and asked softly, "These 2 are very strong." Ji Dai, under their gaze, felt a start in his heart, as if he were facing that old man in black again. In that moment, his heart sank to the bottom. He didn't know who this suddenly appearing man and woman were, but he could tell they seemed to be in league with Squire Yang. Yes, it's him. The soul tracking bee detected Zhang Feng's scent on him. It seems Zhang Feng's storage pouch is on him. The woman addressed as Junior Sister Song, whose real name was Song Jia, had extremely delicate features and fair skin, but there was a hint of coldness in her eyes and brows. On her fingertip rested a white insect fluttering its wings, somewhat resembling a type of bee. This insect was called a soul-tracking bee, an extremely rare demon beast. It had no combat ability, but its sense of smell was extraordinarily keen. It was with this that the 2 had found Zhang Feng's corpse, which led to Squire Yang gathering the villagers and all that followed. I did see Zhang Feng's corpse, but I didn't kill him. I can return the storage pouch to you. Ji Dai was extremely sharp in assessing the situation. Upon hearing the woman's words, he immediately understood that the insect had some kind of tracking ability. He guessed that the storage pouch they mentioned was the small pouch he had picked up from the black-clad old man earlier. Without any reluctance, he immediately took it out from his chest and handed it to them. What's important inside are the cultivation techniques and spirit stones. He spent the spirit stones on medicinal herbs, and since he didn't know their uses, he didn't feel much regret. He's sensible after all. Zhou Su glanced at him with surprise, but did not take his bag, saying, "Rest assured, we are not here to avenge Zhang Feng, because the ones who injured him were us in the first place. This guy stole a spiritual herb from our sect. We came this time only for that herb. Check your storage pouch and see if there's a green vine-like plant inside. The rest of the things will be your reward." All right. Ji Dai thought for a moment, searched within that space, found a green vine among the herbs, took it out, and handed it to them. "Thank you for your cooperation." Zhou Su raised his hand and waved, and the vine was drawn into his hand by a mysterious force. He checked it carefully a couple of times, confirmed it was correct, and then put it into his storage pouch. "Let's go, junior sister Song." "Wait, senior brother Zhou. This person should be Zhang Feng's disciple. We'd better not leave a future threat behind." Song Jia glanced at Ji Dai, a flicker of murderous intent flashing in her eyes. These words sent a chill down Ji Dai's spine. He knew all too well the saying, "The most venomous is a woman's heart," and couldn't help but curse loudly. "You woman, I never expected such a beautiful exterior to hide a heart as vicious as a snake's." Since she was going to kill him anyway, he might as well get some verbal satisfaction. Looking for death. Song Jia's pretty face turned cold as she raised her hand to strike him down on the spot. "Junior sister Song, wait." Zhou Su shook his head to stop her. This man must have stumbled upon Zhang Feng's body after his death. Otherwise, given his nature, how could he have passed up a chance to live? He probably would have killed this man, absorbed his life force, and then slaughtered the village to recover his injuries. Though Ji Dai didn't fully grasp what absorb his life force meant, he understood the gist and felt a wave of terror wash over him. No wonder that old guy kept urging him to come closer that day. So he wanted to devour him to restore his life. The realization that he had unknowingly brushed past the gates of hell turned his face pale in an instant. But this man has cultivated our sect's technique. Our sect's methods cannot be passed on to outsiders. Song Jia furrowed her delicate brows, still unwilling to give up. Just now, Ji Dai insulted her, and she had already formed the intent to kill. Seeing that she was still unwilling to give up, Ji Dai tensed up again and looked toward the young man. That's true. Though Zhang Feng is a traitor, he still cultivated our 7 profound sex techniques. Since this boy has cultivated his techniques, let's take him back to the sect. Zhou Su glanced at Ji Dai, pondered for a moment, and made a decision. At his age, even if he starts on the path of cultivation, it's too late and he can hardly achieve anything. But since you said so, senior brother, we'll take him back. Song Jia shook her head, cast a cold glance at Ji Dai, and said nothing more. After all, once they returned to the 7 profound sect, she had plenty of ways to toy with this brat to death. Let's go. Zhou Su didn't waste words, nor did he pay attention to anyone else. He grabbed Ji Dai by the collar and flew into the air. Neither of them had asked for Ji Dai's opinion throughout their conversation. In their eyes, Ji Dai was just someone who had stumbled into the path of cultivation through sheer luck, and his fate could be decided at will. High in the sky, fierce winds blasted against his face. This was Ji Dai's first experience of flying. He opened his eyes and saw himself flying through the heavens, the Wonhe village beneath his feet gradually shrinking to a small. His mind was filled with wonder, yet also somewhat dazed. He never expected to leave Wonhe village in such a manner. He still hadn't taken back the land left by his parents. If you don't want to go blind, you'd better close your eyes. After a while, Ji Dai's eyes were red and stinging from the wind. Hearing this, he immediately closed his eyes. The 7 Mysteries sect is located within Sangzhou. Its 5 peaks are shrouded in mist all year round, like 5 pillars reaching to the heavens. A river of spring water runs from west to east, cutting through the 5 peaks, dividing them into north and south banks. The 2 peaks on the south bank belong to the outer sect of the 7 Mysteries sect, while the 3 on the north bank are places for core disciples and senior sect elders to cultivate in seclusion. At this moment, on the south bank, the young man Zhou Su was rushing along with Ji Dai, whose eyes were tightly shut. At the young man's reminder, Ji Dai kept his eyes tightly closed, feeling anxious about the unknown Seven Mysteries sect. After all, he had been forced to come here by the young man. This feeling of having no say in his own destiny made him very uncomfortable. Soon the two landed on a certain peak on the south bank. Feeling solid ground underfoot, Ji Dai opened his eyes. He could see a stone tablet not far away, with two bold and flamboyant characters inscribed on it. The words Outer Sect were written. Beside it, a road paved with bluestone led into the distance. Towering ancient trees lined the road, and exquisite pavilions came into view, as if entering a fairyland. Even the air seemed fresher than in the village. Ji Dai suddenly felt that coming here might not be such a bad thing after all. Just then, the woman Song Jia also landed nearby. Junior sister Song, arrange an identity for him. I'll go find the elder to report. Zhou Su nodded slightly. All right. Song Jia nodded coldly, her light, dismissive gaze sweeping over Ji Dai, making him involuntarily shiver. He had insulted this vicious woman before and offended her. Earlier, she had always wanted to kill him. Now that they were here, would she take the opportunity to retaliate? While Ji Dai was feeling anxious, the young man Zhou Su had already sped off towards the mountain peak on the opposite shore, leaving Song Jia to cast an indifferent glance at him. Follow me. Her voice was like the bitter wind of January, chilling one from head to toe. Ji Dai cautiously followed behind her along the path beside the stone tablet, not knowing where they were headed. After telling him to follow, that wicked woman ignored him again. Ji Dai couldn't help but look ahead and caught sight of two jade-like legs faintly visible beneath her white gauze skirt. Very eye-catching. He had to admit, though this woman was vicious, she was indeed a beauty. In his 10+ years of life, she was almost the most beautiful woman he had ever seen. If you can't control your eyes, I'll gouge them out for you. Song Jia stopped coldly in her tracks. Did this woman have eyes in the back of her head to know I was looking at her? Ji Dai felt a chill down his spine and quickly averted his gaze, focusing on his nose and heart, not daring to look at her again. Who knew if that vicious woman would follow through on her words? Song Jia gave a cold laugh and said no more. Soon, a pavilion appeared ahead. A long-faced man, lying on a chair, saw Song Jia enter and quickly got up to bow respectfully. Greetings, senior sister Song. May I ask what brings you here? He kept his eyes straight and his head low, not daring to look around. This person is a new outer disciple. I'll leave it to you to arrange for him to go to the beast's stable. Song Jia uttered a faint word and then drifted away. Yes, I will definitely take good care of the person senior sister Song sent. The horse-faced man saw her off with a flattering face, which quickly disappeared. He then looked down on the youth before him, full of arrogance. Name? G.D. Ji Dai felt that this person's cultivation was probably not as strong as that malicious woman's, but still not something he could contend with, so he behaved very humbly. From now on, when you speak to me, you must address me as steward, understand? The horse-faced man snorted coldly. Working at the bee stable is no easy task. It houses the demon pets of inner disciples. If something goes wrong, you'll be punished, and there are many risks. If you're accidentally eaten by a demon beast, there's no one to complain to. Since Song Jia had him send the person there, it meant that this youth was not only not someone important to her, but had likely offended her. He naturally knew what to do. Yes, steward, I understand. Ji Dai tried his best to appear obedient and respectful. This is your identity token and uniform. From now on, you're an outer disciple of our Seven Mysteries sect. The horse-faced man was very satisfied with his attitude. He took out a folded set of clothes with a black token placed on top. Using his finger as a pen, he quickly carved the characters Ji Dai onto it, then tossed it along with the clothes to Ji Dai. You can look at these things later. Let me first take you to the place where you will be working. Hearing this, Ji Dai looked at the blue robe in his hands, nodded silently, and put the clothes and token into his storage pouch. He followed the horse-faced man all the way to a row of huge shed-like buildings. There were several rooms and a garden area nearby, where small trees bearing white fruits could be seen. A few youths in blue disciple robes sat wearily outside the houses. Upon seeing the horse-faced man, they respectfully bowed. Some of the youths looked curiously at Ji-dai, who was behind him. The horse-faced man nodded faintly and pointed to one of the rooms. From now on, you'll stay here. If you're hungry, you can eat those fruits. The disciple who used to feed the number 11 beast is gone, so you'll be responsible for it from now on. Just use the fruits nearby. Remember, these are all spirit beasts of inner disciples. You must take good care of them, feed them 3 times a day, morning, noon, and evening, on time. Besides that, you need to bathe them once every 7 days and clean their stalls. Of course, this isn't for free. The sect will give you 3 spirit stones every month. Aside from that, you can arrange your own time as you please. But if you fail to complete the assigned tasks or mess up, you won't have it easy. After warning Ji-dai and explaining a few more details, the horse-faced man left the beast stable. Once he was far away, a few nearby disciples quickly gathered around, curiously sizing up Ji-dai. "Newcomer, what's your name?" "Cough. Cough, did you offend the steward? How else would you get assigned to the beast stable?" They all chimed in with various opinions, all saying without exception that this place was no good, which left Ji-dai puzzled. "Isn't it just feeding livestock? What's so hard about that?" Ji-dai voiced his confusion. As a child, he was quite familiar with having a plow ox at home, so this was like returning to his old trade. Although these beasts were more valuable and required bathing, it was just a bit more trouble, nothing too difficult. "Good luck to you." The disciple who took care of beast number 11 before only left a couple of days ago. "You better go see for yourself." A handsome young man hinted meaningfully, nodding toward the shed next door. Every disciple who comes here initially thinks the job is simple, but their words fail them after seeing those creatures. Seeing them acting so mysteriously, Ji-dai grew suspicious and stepped into the shed to check things out. He had been assigned to the beast shed by that woman, and he had indeed offended her before. Could it be that woman was seeking revenge? Inside the shed were compartments that looked like prison cells, each with a number plate, and the roars of beasts could be heard from within. When Ji-dai saw what was locked inside the compartments, he stood frozen in place. "What the hell? I have to bathe these things. I have to bathe them and go inside to clean up?" Ji-dai looked at the white tiger, chained by iron shackles, in the compartment to his left, and his eyes nearly popped out. He had thought they would be feeding livestock or something, not expecting it to be a tiger. A howl came from another compartment. "There are wolves too? And this wolf is so huge." Ji-dai stared at the wolf, which was over 6 feet tall, and his face turned pale. Recalling what the horse-faced man had said, his heart sank. He looked up at the compartment number plate. "Number 3. Good, that's not the one I'm in charge of." Taking a deep breath to calm himself, Ji-dai walked deeper into the shed, searching for his compartment, number 11, and gradually relaxed. Some compartments held normal animals, like white cranes, though they seemed unusually large, taller than him. "I hope the beast I'm raising is something normal." Ji-dai silently prayed as he quickly spotted compartment 11. He looked inside nervously. The next moment, he heard the sound of his own swallowing saliva. This compartment contains neither wolf nor tiger, but a massive python as thick as a water barrel coiled up. This snake is at least as long as 2 or 3 people, entirely black with scales on its forehead that emit a cold gleam. Every 7 days, the compartment must be cleaned and the great snake given a bath. This was the 3rd day since Ji-dai had arrived at this beast stable. Ji-dai had already become familiar with the daily feeding routines. He picked a fruit from the orchard and chewed it, his gaze fixed on the shed. Just thinking about having to bathe that snake in 4 days gave him a headache. Over these 3 days, he had more or less gathered some information about the beast stable. The demon beasts raised here were all trained, mostly docile, and wouldn't harm people unless something unexpected happened. But that absolutely did not include the one he was tending to. This creature was said to have recently torn off the arm of the disciple in charge of feeding it. Just thinking about that bloody scene made Ji-dai shudder. Moreover, it was the spirit pet of a very famous disciple, so it couldn't be struck either. Of course, he might not necessarily be able to defeat them. Based on what he had learned over the past 2 days, all the beasts in this stable were demon beasts. Demon beasts were animals that had accidentally absorbed the spiritual energy of heaven and earth and embarked on the path of cultivation. And the demon beasts in this stable all had cultivation at the chi refining stage. The beast he was raising was said to already be at the peak of the 3rd layer of chi refining. There was no way he could defeat it. After finishing one fruit, Ji-dai couldn't help but rub his cheeks. Carrying a basket of fruit, he walked into the shed, stood outside stall number 11, and poured them all in. However, the large black snake simply opened its cold eyes, glanced at him, then closed them again, completely ignoring the fruit on the ground. "Eat it or not, as you please." Ji-dai glanced at it. Over the past 2 days, he had thought about building a good relationship with it, but who knew it simply wouldn't acknowledge him. Now, he didn't bother with it either and directly walked out of the shed. After all, when it got hungry, it would naturally eat. Back in the room, Ji-dai sat blankly on the bed. The room had only a bed. With no other furniture, it was almost excessively simple. "Forget it. At worst, I'll just not go in. I don't believe they can force me. As for whether there will be other punishments, it's still better than losing my life." Ji-dai gritted his teeth, and the tension of these past days vanished in an instant. Ji-dai also closed his eyes and focused on cultivation. Having gone through this series of events, he understood even more the importance of strength without it. One's fate could only be controlled by others. It was almost afternoon when Ji-dai finally ended his cultivation, a troubled expression on his face, still unable to break through to Qi refining layer 2. He didn't know why, but he felt his cultivation had hit a wall, unable to advance further. Was this the case for everyone, or just for him? He had only been cultivating for a short time and didn't know that at the Qi refining stage, layer 2, layer 5, and layer 7 were 3 major bottlenecks. Breaking through them was more difficult than ordinary barriers. For those with poor talent, it was perfectly normal to be stuck at such a stage for 3 to 5 years. "Let me try again. I don't believe I can never break through." With a sigh, Ji-dai wasn't too disheartened. He left the room and went to deliver a basket of fruits to the Black Serpent. When he came out of the shed, he happened to see a few disciples gathered not far away. One of them was the delicate-looking young man who had warned Ji-dai that day, seemingly named Luo Chong. He was holding up a fruit in his hand, showing off to the disciples beside him. "This spirit ascension fruit that enhances cultivation was specially given to me by senior brother Wu when he came at noon and saw how well I took care of his demon pet. Envy me, won't you?" Luo Chong was smug and complacent. The other disciples said nothing, but their eyes showed envy. "This guy's just too lucky. Not only is the demon beast he raises very docile, but its owner is also extremely generous, occasionally giving him rewards." Unexpectedly, this time he directly rewarded him with a spirit ascension fruit. One must know that this kind of fruit contains spiritual energy and can enhance cultivation. Its effects far better than spirit stones. Spirit ascension fruit? Hearing that the fruit could enhance cultivation, Ji-dai, who was about to return to his room, also stopped and curiously glanced at it. But he noticed that the fruit in the other's hand looked exactly like the ones growing in that garden, only paler in color. Subconsciously, he blurted out, "How does this fruit look so much like the ones we eat?" His voice was not loud, just a murmur. A nearby plump disciple heard him and glanced over. "That's right. These 2 kinds of fruit are actually the same." "The same?" Ji-dai was stunned, but the ones he had eaten didn't have the effect of improving cultivation. This is a bit complicated to explain. That disciple seized the opportunity to chatter on endlessly, and Ji-dai roughly understood the origin of the 2 kinds of fruit. Indeed, these 2 kinds of fruit are of the same variety, but the ones in the other's hand are mature and can enhance cultivation. The ones they ate were unripe, so they didn't have much effect, only enough to fill the stomach. As for why there were so many fruit trees planted here, yet they picked the fruits before they ripened. On one hand, the ripening cycle of these fruits is very long, seemingly needing 10 years. On the other hand, the fruits here are originally grown to feed spirit beasts. The sect also plants this kind of fruit tree elsewhere, tending them carefully and picking them only when ripe. Unripe? Ji-dai heard this news and, thinking of his copper furnace, his heart pounded. He remembered that at the very beginning, when he triggered the copper furnace, he had put in a very small wild ginseng, which directly increased its age by several decades. He wondered if putting this fruit in would have any effect. If it could add several decades of age, it should have matured directly. He came out, made up an excuse to leave, and quickly returned to his room, blocking the door with a stone and summoning the copper furnace. He took out a fruit, placed it into the copper furnace, and then watched with eager anticipation. They're both plants, so it should probably work, right? The familiar green light appeared, Ji-Dai's heart leaped into his throat as he waited for the light to fade. Then he swiftly took the fruit out of the furnace and examined it closely. The fruit's color was lighter than before, looking almost exactly like the one Luo Chang had in his hand just now. However, whether it could enhance cultivation still needed to be tested. I wonder if it has any effect. Ji-Dai took a deep breath, picked up the fruit, brought it to his lips, and cautiously took a bite. The texture was completely different from when he had eaten it before. This time the fruit melted on his tongue instantly. Then a warm current surged chaotically through his body. It was spiritual energy. It really can enhance cultivation. Could this fruit be considered a type of medicinal herb? Ji-Dai's eyes lit up with surprise, and he grew even more fond of that copper furnace. It was truly a genuine treasure that kept bringing him surprises. However, the primary task of the moment was to refine this spiritual power. So Ji-Dai set aside his excitement, quickly closed his eyes, and began circulating the Tai Xian scripture, converting the spiritual power into his own, which continuously merged into the spiritual energy within his body. Immediately, Ji-Dai felt a warm sensation throughout his body, as if every pore had comfortably opened up, making him feel extremely relaxed. Only after completely absorbing the medicinal power did he happily open his eyes to look at the fruit he had taken a bite from. The effect of this spirit ascension fruit was so strong, one bite was roughly equivalent to absorbing 3 spirit stones. This effect once again made Ji-Dai's heart pound uncontrollably. After all, spirit stones required time to absorb, but eating this fruit only took a few dozen breaths, yet its effect was at least equivalent to 2 or 3 days of past training. No wonder those disciples were so envious. This fruit was indeed a good thing. And with that copper furnace, he could now have as many of these fruits as he wanted. First, break through to the second level of qi refining. Ji-Dai's eyes sparkled with excitement as he kissed the copper furnace. At this moment, he could feel the bottleneck of his cultivation loosening. With a bit more spiritual energy, he estimated he could break through to the second layer of qi refining. Fortunately, he had only taken 1 bite of the spirit ascension fruit in his hand. Without wasting any more time, he quickly ate the small fruit in a few bites. Boom! This time, the warm current was even more immense. Under the guidance of the Tai Xian scripture, it continuously flowed into the qi sea within his body. At a certain moment, a rumbling sound erupted directly from within his body. Ji-Dai felt warm all over, and his aura became much stronger than before. He had successfully stepped into the second layer of qi refining, a breakthrough he had long been unable to achieve. Moreover, the upward momentum did not stop after the breakthrough. Without opening his eyes, Ji-Dai continued to refine the remaining medicinal power. Only when the spiritual energy, originally as thick as a finger, had expanded several times and gradually grown to the size of small ditch did he slowly open his eyes. Finally, I've broken through to the second layer of qi refining. Ji-Dai's gaze was clear as he looked ahead. Originally, his skin was somewhat dark, but after the breakthrough, it gradually became a bit fairer. His stature also grew taller, and he appeared more resolute and confident. All of this was thanks to that woman. Thinking of that vicious woman, Ji-Dai let out a cold laugh. If it weren't for her assigning him to the beast stable, he might not have broken through so quickly. Of course, he wouldn't thank her for that, nor would he become arrogant because of it. Qi refining layer 2 is far from the end. I can't get complacent. My strength is still lacking. I don't know what cultivation level that woman has, but sooner or later, I will surpass her. Shaking his head, Ji-Dai silently made up his mind, not forgetting who he was just because he had broken through to qi refining layer 2. He planned to go out and pick some of those fruits to put into the copper furnace, upgrading them to enhance his cultivation. Naturally, no one cared about this move. These fruits grew extremely fast and were all over the garden. However, Ji-Dai didn't pick too many at once. On one hand, picking too many would leave them unused in a short time. And on the other hand, he didn't want to arouse suspicion. Although no one would think of it, being cautious never hurt. Soon, taking advantage of the dead of night, Ji-Dai put all the picked fruits into the copper furnace. After enhancement, he obtained a full 15 spirit enhancement fruits. 15 fruits. Ji-Dai's breathing quickened. During the day, Just because Luo Chang obtained a single spirit ascension fruit, so many disciples were envious. If word of his 15 spirit ascension fruits got out, it would likely arouse the jealousy of countless people. However, Jidai naturally wouldn't be foolish enough to expose this matter. His parents died young, and he grew up alone, extremely mature in mind otherwise. He would have perished without understanding how. Putting the extra spirit ascension fruits into his storage pouch, Jidai picked up one and started munching on it. According to the record in that booklet, the spiritual energy needed to break through to Qi refining layer 3 was several times that of layer 2. But with spirit ascension fruits, Jidai cultivated naturally very fast. After consuming about 10 of them, a sudden boom sounded from within his body. His cultivation, having only recently reached Qi refining layer 2, actually broke through once more, stepping into Qi refining layer 3. The spiritual power within his body also reached the scale of a small ditch. If this speed were to get out, it would probably cause countless people's jaws to drop in shock. After all, he had been cultivating for less than half a month. He had reached the 3rd level of Qi refinement. Jidai didn't feel much impact from it and continued to consume the remaining 5 spirit ascending fruits. His spiritual energy, once the size of a small ditch, was slowly approaching that of a stream. The next day, Jidai carried a basket of fruits toward the shed, walking all the while with his head down in thought. I wonder if it's just my imagination. It seems that the cultivation boost from those spirit ascending fruits has weakened considerably. Jidai frowned, pondering the reason. As he ate more and more spirit ascending fruits, he found that the enhancement to his cultivation began to steadily decrease. He had heard before that if it's just a minor illness, it's best not to take medicine. For one, medicine has side effects. For another, taking too much medicine can gradually build up resistance in the body. Could it be the same for this fruit? Jidai thought deeply and felt that his guess was probably very close to the truth, but he could do nothing about it. After all, this was an unavoidable factor. Whatever, let it weaken if it will. I have so many fruits anyway. Jidai smiled generously, not worrying too much about this. He soon arrived at compartment number 11. Jidai poured the fruit in as usual, then looked at the big creature inside. It was no longer as timid as before. This black serpent's cultivation seemed to be only at the peak of Qi refining layer 3. I'm also at Qi refining layer 3 now. Even if I can't defeat it, it's not as dangerous anymore. Seeing its aloof demeanor, as if it looked down on him, Jidai didn't get angry. His eyes darted around. After confirming no one was in the shed, he took out a spirit ascension fruit that had been processed in a copper furnace from his storage pouch. After a brief hesitation, he tossed it directly beside the black serpent. Ever since discovering there were so many spirit ascension fruits here that could boost cultivation, he had no desire to leave. So naturally, he had to get on good terms with this big guy, lest it take a bite out of him when he went in to clean the compartments or take a bath. But Jidai wasn't sure if the black serpent would be interested in this fruit. Fortunately, that worry was unnecessary. The black serpent seemed to sense something, hesitantly opened its eyes, and moved its huge head closer to the enhanced spirit ascension fruit. The next moment, it swallowed it in one gulp, a look of satisfaction appearing in its eyes. It worked. Jidai was delighted inside and took out another fruit. Still want to eat? It had heard that beasts at the Qi refining stage possessed intelligence comparable to a 3-year-old child, but it wasn't sure if it could understand human speech. Seeing the fruit in his hand, the black snake's eyes showed a human-like longing, and it immediately twisted its body, charging toward him. Jidai's face immediately darkened. Uncertain whether the wooden bars of the compartment could hold it back, he instinctively stepped back. Only when he heard the clanking of chains did he notice that a tight iron ring was fastened around the large snake's tail, for which a chain extended deep into the ground. The large snake struggled desperately, hissing and roaring, trying to rush forward and snatch the fruit, but it was futile. It was tightly bound by the chain and couldn't leave the compartment. A beast trying to rob me? Seeing this, Jidai regained his composure. With a cold sneer at its struggling, he put the ascension spirit fruit away. Remember, I can give it to you, but you cannot take it by force. This fruit is out of the question this time. If you behave well next time, I might reward you. Jidai gave it a faint glance, not caring whether it understood or not, and walked straight out of the shed. His action was meant to instill an attitude in this snake to let it know who was the boss. Otherwise, even if he gave it more spirit enhancement fruits, the beast might not remember his kindness. After all, the previous disciple fed it every day, yet the beast still tore off his arm, which fully showed what its temperament was like. Making it grateful was impossible, but he could use the fruit to try to make it obedient. Obey, and there will be fruit to eat. He just didn't know if this beast was smart enough. It was a long and arduous task. Coming out of the shed, Ji-Dai held his head in his hands, looking not too anxious. After all, he had only been at the beast stable for 4 days, and there were still 3 days left to enter the stalls for cleaning. He wondered if 3 days would be enough to tame this creature and reduce its hostility toward him. Back in his room, Ji-Dai put the fruit he had kept while feeding the black snake into the furnace and continued his cultivation. It wasn't until the afternoon, when the spiritual energy inside him was a little closer to a stream, that he went out and took a basket of fruit to feed the snake. This time, Ji-Dai took out another spirit ascension fruit, but the black serpent remained untamed. Having tasted the sweetness, it tried to lunge forward to snatch the fruit. Still not learning your lesson. I told you I would give it to you, but you cannot snatch it. If you want to eat, wait for me to grant it. If this happens again, forget about this fruit. Ji-Dai sneered coldly, put away the fruit, and walked straight out of the shed. This time, the black serpent stared at his back for a long time, a hint of human-like contemplation in its eyes. Of course, Ji-Dai was unaware of this. As he came out of the shed, he suddenly saw a figure walking toward him. Hey, newbie, I have something to do later. Go wash the beast in number 3 for me. This was a gaunt man, also a stable disciple, but he had arrived earlier than Ji-Dai. Tisk, it's his song. I hear he's in charge of that demon wolf, which has a bad temper. It seems he's broken through to the 3rd layer of chi training, and the wolf gets very irritable during baths. Now he's terrified to even enter the stall. He wants this new guy to take the fall. I wonder what the new guy will do. His cultivation seems to be only at the 1st layer of chi training. He probably wouldn't dare to disobey the others' orders. The commotion immediately drew the attention of the other disciples from the beast stables, who looked on as if watching a good show. They naturally knew that Song's talk of having something to do was just an excuse. In fact, he was scared and dare not go in, wanting to foist it onto the newcomer. But no one wanted to meddle either. Work hard and don't mess up. Song patted Ji-Dai on the shoulder with a beaming smile, not afraid that others would see through his intentions. After all, this kid at the 1st level of chi refining wouldn't dare to refuse, even if he knew. I still need to cultivate and have no time. Ask someone else. Ji-Dai, hearing the commanding tone, frowned and glanced at him. With his cultivation level, he could naturally see that the other was around the 2nd level of chi refining. If it had been when he first arrived, he might have been somewhat wary, but now he paid it no mind and directly refused. Kid, what did you say? Seeing him refuse so bluntly, Song was taken aback, wondering if he had misheard. How dare a mere 1st level chi refining disciple refuse him? I said I have something to do later and no time. Ji-Dai repeated. This newcomer actually refused. TSK Tisk, there's going to be a good show. The surrounding beast stable disciples were also very surprised, each one more excited, waiting for the show. Kid, you better think carefully before answering. Song finally heard clearly. Seeing the mocking glances around him, he felt humiliated and was quite angry. What? You think you can force me if I don't go? Ji-Dai laughed in anger, too lazy to bother with him anymore, and directly passed him to go back to his room. That's not up to you. If you don't want to suffer some physical pain, obediently do as I say. Song's face darkened, and his hand grabbed fiercely at his shoulder, but Ji-Dai was faster, quickly stepping back to dodge, frowning as he looked at him. How dare you make a move in the sect? Aren't you afraid of sect punishment? For a small matter like this, as long as there's no loss of life, who would care? Song sneered. Seeing him dodge, he was a bit surprised but still didn't take it seriously, saying condescendingly, I'll give you one last chance. Will you obediently go bathe the demon beast for me? Or should I beat you first? I choose neither. Ji-Dai said calmly. Then today I'll teach you some rules, let you know what it means to respect your seniors and the rule of the strong. Song laughed in extreme anger, swayed his body, and pounced at him. Unexpectedly, Ji-Dai suddenly swayed and easily dodged his attack. You can dodge, but before he finished, he suddenly felt a pain in his abdomen. His whole body flew out like a bent shrimp, landing heavily on the ground a few steps away, his expression filled with terror. Impossible. How can you be this strong? His voice even came with the sound of gasping. Get lost. Don't provoke me again next time. As for Ji-dai, the one involved, he appeared very calm. He looked down at the other person, then walked straight away, not taking him seriously at all. Hee-song's face alternated between green and white. Watching Ji-dai's figure gradually disappear outside the door, he then crawled up with a limp, a deep resentment in his eyes. TSK, Hee-song, didn't expect this? Trying to bully the newbie, but ended up being taught a lesson by the newbie instead. A disciple cast a mocking glance at him, rubbing salt into his wound. But what cultivation level is this newcomer? Has he already broken through to Chi refining layer 2? The other disciples in the stable were also quite emotional. Hee-song's face was ugly, and he didn't respond. Today really was a huge loss of face. It's all because of that little bastard. Little bastard, just you wait, I will definitely not let you off. Hee-song hid the resentment in his eyes, and amidst the taunts of the other disciples, he picked up his tools and went into the shed. After a short while, a miserable scream came from the beast's shed. When Hee-song limped out, his clothes had multiple bloodstains from claw marks, and his face was disfigured with a bloody claw print. Ji-dai naturally paid no attention to these things. He returned to his room and continued taking spirit ascension fruits to improve his cultivation. At this moment, in a certain attic, a stable disciple was reporting the earlier incident to the horse-faced man. When he heard that Hee-song tried to use force to force Ji-dai to clean his stall, but was instead defeated by Ji-dai, the horse-faced man was also somewhat surprised. Breaking through to the second layer of Chi refining in such a short time and defeating Hee-song, this person could be considered a genius. It's a pity that he offended senior sister Song and won't live long. After waving for that disciple to withdraw, the horse-faced man closed his eyes and didn't take the matter to heart. In his eyes, Ji-dai was already a cripple. After all, the spirit beast he assigned Ji-dai to tend to was notoriously ferocious, and even its own master could do nothing about it. When the day comes to clean its enclosure, that kid will either die or be crippled. At least that would be an explanation for senior sister Song. It's just unclear what the matter is between Song Jia and Ji-dai, but the subordinates just need to act according to her wishes. If he could gain her favor, his cultivation and status might even rise, and he might even enter the inner sect. The next day at noon, Ji-dai stood outside the number 11 enclosure and poured a basket of fruits inside. The black snake opened its eyes and looked at him, its massive head motionless, only its crimson tongue flickering. Ji-dai knew what it was expecting. Seeing no one around, he took out a spirit ascending fruit that he had upgraded with a copper furnace. This time, the black snake's vertical pupils were fixed on him, showing desire. But whether due to Ji-dai's words from yesterday taking effect or knowing it couldn't break the chain, it didn't charge forward again. Not bad. It no longer had thoughts of seizing. Ji-dai was very satisfied with this effect and directly threw the fruit in. After all, he had as many of these fruits as he wanted. The black snake seemed stunned at the fruit rolling beside it. After hesitating, it moved its head over, quickly swallowed it, its crimson eyes showing satisfaction, then looked at him again. Thud! Another fruit rolled beside it. After a moment of shock, it swiftly swallowed it, and its cultivation inside moved considerably closer to the fourth layer of Chi training. Remember, as long as you listen to me, well, if I tell you to go east, you don't go west, I can give you one of these fruits every meal. The black snake seemed to understand his words, flicking its tongue as it looked at the young man outside, its eyes showing a human-like obedience. Ji-dai was very satisfied with this. After speaking, he turned and left the beast pen. Outside the shed, there was no sign of disciples apart from some cultivating in their own rooms. Others were not in the beast pen. After all, apart from feeding times, disciples can arrange their own schedules. Some disciples don't stay in the beast shed during their free time. Speaking of which, I've been at 7 Mysteries sect for so long and haven't left this place. I wonder what it's like outside the beast shed. Ji-dai merely sighed with emotion. He didn't actually want to go out for a stroll. He was unfamiliar with the place, had no friends or acquaintances, so it was better to continue cultivating and break through to Chi refining layer 4 as soon as possible. He picked some fruits in the garden and returned to his room. On the way, he encountered Hee-song, who was limping with a bloody claw mark on his face. He must have been scratched by the demon wolf he was in charge of while cleaning the stall. Hee-song also saw him, his eyes full of malice. The snow wolf he was in charge of had a relatively violent temper and disliked bathing it resisted every time. Before, their cultivation levels were similar, and he could barely handle it. Now that the beast had broken through to Chi refining layer 3, it caused him all sorts of suffering. If that beast hadn't been tamed by the sect and lost some of its wildness, he would probably be dead by now. As if the injuries on his body weren't serious enough. Ji Dai glanced at the resentment in his eyes and let out a cold laugh. Don't rush. Soon you'll follow in my footsteps, or even end up worse than me. He Song let out a cold laugh and limped away. Ji Dai couldn't be bothered with such an idiot and went straight back to his room, spending most of his time in cultivation except when feeding the snake. According to the records in the Tai Xian Jing, to break through to the 4th layer of Qi refinement, one needs to transform their spiritual energy into a stream. As the name suggests, it means the spiritual energy within the body reaches the level of a stream. Now, the spiritual energy increased by each spirit ascension fruit was only half of what it was at the beginning. Ji Dai roughly calculated that to transform his spiritual energy into a stream and break through the 4th layer of Qi refinement, he would need to refine at least 30 more spirit ascension fruits. Of course, while improving his cultivation, he did not forget to tame the black snake. Now, the black snake was becoming increasingly obedient toward him. In the blink of an eye, it was already the 7th day since he arrived at the beast pen. Ji Dai sat on the bed, as if he didn't feel the passage of time, eyes closed, his aura continuously growing. Over the past 2 days, he had refined about 28 spirit ascension fruits. The spiritual energy within his body was very close to transforming into a stream. Ji Dai was still dissatisfied. He consumed the fruits one by one, refining them, and the spiritual power within him continuously grew, causing the spiritual power, which had long surpassed the scale of a small ditch, to churn endlessly. At this time, the disciples in the beast stable didn't see Ji Dai and were all somewhat puzzled. Isn't today the cleaning time for compartment number 11? What about the newcomer? Could he be hiding out of fear? That's understandable. After all, that beast is at the peak of Qi refining 3rd layer. Sure, if the beast's owner hears that, watch out for trouble. Early in the morning, after feeding their respective beasts, the stable disciples gathered together, buzzing with discussion. After all, the beast in number 11 was too infamous in the stable. Everyone speculated that Ji Dai had hidden away out of fear. Just then, the horse-faced man appeared near the stable. The disciples immediately fell silent and bowed respectfully. Greetings, steward. Where is Ji Dai? The horse-faced man frowned faintly. In reply, Steward Wang, that guy is hiding in his room and hasn't come out. He didn't even feed the beast he's in charge of this morning. He Song began to speak sarcastically, filled with an inexplicable resentment toward Ji Dai. Go call him out. What time is it? And he's still holed up in his room. The horse-faced man snorted coldly, well aware of the grudge between the two, and immediately ordered him to bring Ji Dai out. As you command. He Song, beaming with delight, headed toward Ji Dai's room. Finding the door locked from the inside, he started pounding on it. Ji Dai, get the hell out. Hiding won't do you any good. The steward is right outside. Hearing the commotion, Ji Dai inside closed his eyes tightly, unwilling to pay any attention. After fully refining the 31st spirit ascending fruit, the stream-like spiritual power within his body suddenly surged and roiled on a massive scale. It ceaselessly assaulted the barrier of the 4th level of Qi refining. Break for me. With bloodshot eyes, Ji Dai heard a sound like something shattering within his body, amid He Song's taunts outside the door. A rumbling sound echoed, and the spiritual power in his body gradually calmed down. So this is what it feels like to break through to the 4th level of Qi refining. Ji Dai slowly opened his eyes and glanced at the door. Ji Dai, get out here. I know you're inside. He Song outside the door kept shouting. Suddenly, the tightly shut door creaked open with a groan. A young man in a green disciple uniform stood at the threshold, giving him a cold look. The steward wants to see you. Under that gaze, He Song couldn't help but feel a jolt of fear, and his voice weakened considerably. Greetings, steward. Ji Dai naturally spotted the horse-faced man. He walked over and offered a respectful salute, perfectly proper. Ji Dai, do you know what date is today? The horse-faced man said in a deep voice. He Song's face was immediately filled with schadenfreude. replying to the steward, "You only said to clean once every 7 days. You didn't specify a time, did you?" Ji-Dai remained neither humble nor arrogant. "Oomph, I'm a steward. I decide when you clean, so you clean when I say." The horse-faced man's face darkened. "Yes." Ji-Dai lowered his eyes. After breaking through to the fourth layer of chi refining, he could faintly sense that the other's aura was slightly stronger than is probably around the peak of the fourth layer. Not wanting to offend him either, he fetched a bucket of water, picked up tools like a bucket, brush, and broom, and entered the shed, making his way to the outside of stall 11. The black snake opened its eyes upon seeing him, flicking its tongue submissively. "This is your first time doing this, so I'll supervise you. If you dare to slack off, don't blame me for being harsh." The long-faced man declared with righteousness and followed him in. He-Song, who held deep resentment toward him, naturally wouldn't miss this chance, along with some other disciples who were fond of stirring up trouble. But once they met the black snake's eyes, they all felt a chill at the soles of their feet, and no one dared offer help. The snake's ferocity was well known. "Go on in," the long-faced man said, glancing inside. "Yes." Ji-Dai clasped his fists in salute, opened the door to the stall, and walked in. Gazing at the large creature not far away, he took a few deep breaths, set down the bucket and other tools, and holding only the broom, slowly advanced. He remained constantly vigilant, wary of the beast changing its attitude. Although this creature had behaved very submissively over the past 2 days, a snake was still a snake. Ji-Dai dared not fully trust it. Even though his cultivation was slightly higher than the snake's, he could not afford to be careless. As he stepped closer, the black snake flicked its tongue and moved its massive head toward Ji-Dai, seeming to send a dangerous signal. For a moment, the disciples outside also grew tense, as if they were the ones inside. "That's it, eat him." He-Song was extremely excited, already imagining the scene where Ji-Dai would be attacked by the black snake. Ji-Dai also stared at it intently, his heart pounding, ready to use the broom in his hand as a weapon to strike it on the head at any moment. Fortunately, the past 2 days of feeding and training had been effective. The black snake brought its head close to him, took a look, then retreated. "At least you beast has some conscience." Ji-Dai's body unconsciously relaxed as he muttered, taking out a basket of fruits from his storage bag and placing it in front of the black snake, among which he mixed an enhanced ascension fruit. Seeing the black snake lower its head to eat the fruits, Ji-Dai also took the broom and started cleaning the feces in the compartment. The man and the snake had a clear division of labor. "What's going on?" That snake didn't attack him. The disciples who followed outside the compartment were all dumbfounded. The horse-faced man, consumed by resentment toward Ji-Dai, was also astonished, unable to fathom why the black snake was so docile and didn't attack Ji-Dai. "Eat your fill, I'll give you a bath." Soon, the excrement in the stall was cleaned up. Ji-Dai placed the bucket at his feet, glanced at the black snake, and picked up a brush to scrub the filth off its body. The black snake continued eating its fruit, ignoring him. Everything went smoothly. "You little bastard." Watching this, He-Song stared darkly at his back, touched the scratches on his face, a cold gleam in his eyes, his expression full of imbalance and anger. "I got hurt cleaning my own stall, so why is this bastard unscathed?" At that moment, everyone's attention was on the stall. No one noticed a short arrow, the size of a silver needle, suddenly piercing the air and striking the giant snake's soft belly. With a metallic clang, the silver needle was blocked by the scales on the black snake's lower abdomen, but it still let out an angry roar from the pain. It howled wildly, thrashing its body, and the fruits in the basket were instantly knocked over and scattered on the ground. "Die, you scum!" He-Song secretly went mad with glee. Now that Ji-Dai was right beside the black snake, if it suddenly flew into a rage, he would undoubtedly die. The man with the horse-like face seemed to sense something and shot him a covert glance, but said nothing. The other disciples nearby had already turned pale with shock. "Oh no, this black snake has gone out of control." "Who?" Seeing the black snake suddenly go berserk, Ji-Dai was taken aback. He then abruptly retreated to a distance, his eyes scanning ahead until they landed on the silver needle that had fallen to the ground. A cold glint flashed in his eyes, and he instantly understood why the black snake had suddenly lost control. Someone was trying to harm him. He-Song. Since he came to the animal pen, the only person he had a grudge with was him. Aside from him, he really couldn't think of anyone else who would want him dead. "This bastard." Jedi forcibly suppressed his rage, not having time to think about it. His gaze fixed on the black serpent ahead, which was hissing in terror after being startled. He wasn't too sure if the serpent in this state would attack him. But soon enough, he found out the creature now saw everyone as an enemy. Its body suddenly lashed out like a giant whip, striking toward him. Damn it! Jedi's pupils contracted. He pushed his spiritual power to its limits, his body retreating sharply toward the door. But before he could escape the compartment, the door slammed shut. The task isn't done. You're not allowed out. The horse-faced man stood outside with a cold expression. Jedi stared at him. The black serpent was now completely out of control, but the man still demanded he continue cleaning it. The hell, why don't you do it yourself? Manager, this black serpent, someone attacked it, and now it's exactly. The other was his superior, so Jedi had no choice but to swallow his anger. But before he could finish, he was cut off. Rules are rules. The task isn't done, so you're not allowed out. This manager's order. If you dare defy it, that's insubordination. According to sect rules, your cultivation can be abolished, and you can be expelled from the sect. The horse-faced man emphasized the word steward heavily. This country bumpkin had offended Senior Sister's song, so now he naturally had to act according to the rules. Of course, this rule was also his own rule. The sect rules didn't specify when disciples should clean the cubicles and such trivial matters. Fine, I'll remember this. Jedi stared at him intently. Though he didn't know the whole story, he could tell the other was deliberately making things difficult. He also didn't know why the other was targeting him. He hadn't seemed to have offended him. Had he? Are you threatening me? The horse-faced man glanced at him, catching the anger in his eyes. A hint of mockery flickered in the depths of his gaze. The other disciples witnessed this and thought the horse-faced man was being rather harsh, but when his gaze swept over them, they all fell silent, not daring to say a word. The other party was a steward with cultivation far beyond theirs, not someone they could afford to offend. Just then, the black snake shook its body, and countless fruits scattered on the ground flew out, hurtling toward the crowd.